What's up, guys? Quantum League Capital back with another video. And basically today we're just going to be doing a gold analysis. It is Sunday, market has opened. My time zone, it opens at 4 p.m. You have to check it on your time zone, but yeah. So let's get right into it. Gold. Okay, so we can see that... Sorry, I normally don't use these circles. I just use it for the purpose of identifying these highs during the video. So bear with me a second. There we go. And all we're doing right now is we're just identifying lower highs. And the reason we're doing this is because I'm just basically showing the temporary downtrend that we've been in for since the beginning of this year, basically. That's all. That's the reason behind this. Just to showcase what's going on. It's pretty obvious though, but I'm just doing this so people can understand. In case you're new. Okay, this one's going wild. Just stick it right there. So you want to start with a multi-time frame analysis. This is what it's called, and basically it means you start from the higher time frames because the higher time frames have more meaning. And it will give you a much bigger picture of what's happening in the long term, and that is super important. So, move this down a little bit. Fuck. God damn it. Click on this. There you go. And then there is another high right there, but we'll just leave that for now because that's annoying to use. But yes, so as you can see, we have the initial high right here, lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, potentially lower low. I'm looking at around 1545. There's more levels than that, obviously, because this is the weekly time frame, but just looking on a weekly time frame, I do believe we could go back down to 1545. Now, this solely depends on the fundamentals as well to see how strong USD is. To keep the fundamentals in mind, we have Federal Reserve raising interest rates, and there has been talk amongst big companies and institutions such as BlackRock, I believe, that in the next meeting that Fed is going to still raise interest rates, but there's going to be quote-unquote pivot language, meaning that soon after raising interest rates a couple more times that they're actually going to start to pause the interest rate hikes and then followed by lowering interest rates because the economy can't handle it. So this is the rumors that are going around, but when someone like BlackRock says that, basically a company that fucking owns everything, you might want to listen. So just keep that in mind. But in the short term, since the rumor is that they're going to keep raising these interest rates, that's going to mean a stronger dollar. So in the short term, for the next, they say it could last until maybe Q2 of next year. So that's almost half a year. For the next half a year, we could still see a strong dollar. Maybe 3 to 4 months we'll see strong dollar, and then they'll reverse. It's hard to say. You just have to keep watching the meetings and seeing what is going on and what the market sentiment is. So that's the fundamental aspects of it, right? We know dollars gaining strength, raising interest rates, but people are expecting a turnaround at some point. Technical wise, we have the initial high that went into the lower high and then to lower lows. So we are bearish for the time being since basically the beginning of this year. besides for maybe the first couple months, because when Russia-Ukraine was happening, gold popped off. But after that, yeah, money flowed into dollar. So that's the technicals for the weekly. Let's go down to the daily. So on the daily time frame, though, I do like short-term buys because we have the support right here, and now that you guys have seen this, I'm just gonna actually get this out of the way because it's kind of just in the way. So let me just delete it. I guess the other ones can stay. They're not really in the way, but we'll get rid of the most near ones because we know it's in a downtrend. I just did that simply to show you guys lower lows and lower highs. But yeah, so let's look at the more recent structure. This is the daily. Still quite a big time frame to look at. So what a daily candle means, and I guess I should have explained that on the weekly, it means each of these candles is a day worth of price action. So this whole candle right here is the movement of the whole day. And then once it closes, it starts the next day, and then the next candle is the whole day's movement. So this is a candle worth 1 day of price movement. Same for the weekly. These candles are candles worth 1 week of price movement. Monthly and so on and so forth. 4 hour would be every candle's a 4 hour movement. So good. Now that we got that out the way. So right now we can see we're forming some support, and we actually are at some support right now. It seems that we opened with a little bit of a gap. Because this candle is bullish, so that means it gapped down here and then immediately started climbing up. It's up 20 pips on the open. So that's interesting. But it seems that we're more or less stuck in a range. And a range is just meaning that, there's a point where price is bouncing between a support and resistance, and it can't break out one way or the other. So you see right here how it's like broken out clearly and price just takes off. As of right now, since October 10th, 11th, I want to say, so for almost 20 days, we've been stuck in this range, and it's just been going back and forth. That doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It just means price is consolidating and markets seem unsure of where price should head. So that's something to keep in mind. Right now on the daily as well, we have this initial low, we have a higher high, we have a higher low, and you could count this as a higher high. But we've come back down and we're back towards that point of support. So we need to see if this holds. This is very important. Again, this is on the daily. So short term, we could be looking at buys unless we see some type of candle with an exhaustion like this doji right here. Doji candles is like a sign of indecisiveness. That's why you see these wicks and how there's not like a big body. That's what these colored in black candles are, and these colored in white candles are. These are the bodies of the candle. I'm not going to go too much into that because I can make another video on that. I just want to do the analysis. So if you're new to this, just try to follow along. Unless we see some type of rejection or resistance being met and good price action with that, we could potentially short, but I think short term we might see some buys. Today is Sunday going into Monday. I normally don't trade on these days because it's the beginning of the week. I like to see how things are kind of shaping up. But we'll see what price gives us today. Yeah, kind of the same story in the more short term, where I think that we're probably going to be going up. Now, where could we possibly go to? We have a couple different prices. First, we could come to break this high that was just set. So we have this, right? This is our first option, around 1675. Basically breaking above and going higher, because you see how over here too that this is clearly a resistance. If you look left, there's so many times where price just breaks above, like ridiculously breaks above and then comes back down. These are all like manipulations. And it's the same thing with right here. Like, you have price break above because people are starting to short at these levels, and they're like, oh, all these people have their stop losses, let's just take them out. And people get taken out. So that's something that I think is definitely a good possibility and probability. We come back up here, we take people out, and then afterwards we're followed up by a drop. So these are the main things I'm paying attention to right now. Weekly, definitely bearish. We're still sitting at weekly support though, so this is important to realize. This is 2 times we've tapped it, but last week, the very most recent weekly candle ended bearish. So this is also important to pay attention to. Let's zoom in a bit. So as you can see, this black candle right here was the last week's candle, and we ended bearish, and we ended with a, let me get this out of the way for right now. And we ended with a wick on top. So that means there's definitely some exhaustion there. We ended with a little wick on bottom. It's kind of like indecisive to me because, like I said, it's really working within a range. But it's important to note that we've come down to these supports twice, and we've both had major exhaustion from those supports. Go back to the daily, double bottom, once again, daily support, doji right here. We've had a massive doji right here to form this support. The last week ended at this support as well. We gapped down and we started pushing up immediately. 4 hour and 1 hour are mainly used for entries, but you can see again the short-term trend is going up. So more than likely, unless I see a really big sign of some type of rejection at one of these resistance points up here, this 1666.8 and this 1675, unless I see something like that, then more than likely at the beginning of the week I'm going to be looking for buys on gold. Unless, like I said, I see some type of stagnation, like we've hit the top of the range and there's some type of rejection and it's looking good for a sell, more than likely I'm going to be looking for buys. So that's all I want to go over right now. Just go over gold and my basically pre-week analysis. Markets are open, but this is like the very beginning of the week. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll take some trades this week for sure. Markets are looking pretty good, I think, and there's a couple other pairs I'm looking at, but any trades I take I'm going to be posting on YouTube. So stay tuned, guys. Peace.